Turning your hips correctly in the golf swing is really important. Spinning them, not so much. In fact, spinning them can get you into all sorts of trouble. A lot of players think that the faster their hip rotation, the more power they're going to be able to produce in the golf swing. That's part of the answer. Let's have a look at the rest of it. In this video today, what I'm going to do is show you how your hips actually do operate. Yes, there is a turn, but there's also a sliding movement, and we also need to be able to generate force through that movement, which I'm not going to be able to do if I just spin my hips. Hi, I'm Peter Knight, and I've created this channel, Peter Knight Golf, to help you play the best golf you possibly can. And today it's going to be about hip turn. But more than just hip turn, we're also looking at how the hip motion works, how you use your feet against the ground to help you generate force and movement in the swing. And then I'm going to show you a way that you can practice to develop it for yourself. A couple of things to start with. If I just swing the club back and think just spin my hips, my balance is likely to stay on my right leg. I'm using my right leg, in this instance, incorrectly, I'm using my right leg almost as a stabilizer so that my hips can turn. Now, I actually see players every single day on the driving range practicing this movement. So when they swing down, they just try and turn their hips as fast as they possibly can. So that can influence club face alignment at impact, it can influence path. The thing that it's going to influence most of all is going to be the contact point with the ground. Now, ideally that contact point occurs when the ball meets the club, it also meets the ground at the same time. That's why, particularly when you're watching professionals playing and you see these slow-mo replays, you'll see that the divot is always taken after the ball. Little shots around the green, little pitch shots. Yes, the club strikes the ground slightly before it gets to the ball so it can move through correctly, but for most shots or full shots, it's hitting the ball on the ground at the same time, and that's the best way for us to think about how this motion works. When I swing the club, as I get to the end of my backswing, I've got this timing of movement. So if we have a look at the video that's playing at the moment, you can see the coloured arrows on the ground there are indicating the pressure on my feet, left foot and right foot. And you'll notice that as I get toward the end of my backswing, watch all of the arrows in the direction they're pointed. As I'm getting to the end of the backswing, you notice they're suddenly starting to point toward the target. So that as I get to the end of my backswing, the pressure has already beginning to shift to my front foot. I'm not waiting until I get to the end of the backswing for it to finish. It starts moving before that. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to find a way to actually practice how that movement works, because it looks correct, and if you watch, again, players with great swings, you'll see they're all doing the same thing. It's not like the golf swing is a backswing movement and a downswing movement, like it's got two parts or three parts if we add a transition. It feels like it's one flowing movement. And you will have had glimpses of that with your own golf swings for most of you at times, and you sort of think, this game is so easy when I've got this rhythmic flowing movement. So let's have a look at how we actually go about creating it. So if we start off, we're going to do this as a multi-part drill to get the feel of the motion. So the first thing is that when I swing the club back, however much pressure I'm going to get in my back foot as a maximum, it's going to be when my hands are at about hip height in the backswing. Then from there, as I get to the end of my backswing, the pressure's already begun to shift back toward the target. So that's the first thing we need to practice. So if I swing the club back till my hands are at about hip height, or maybe a little bit higher than that, and then from here, I start to move forward. Now, when I go back and stop, I'm not going to move my arm down. I'm just getting this feeling that my hips and shoulders are turning. Now they're moving toward the target. I'm not making any attempt in this first part of the drill to try and turn my body back toward what I would be doing when I'm hitting a ball. I'm just turning and slide. So that's the first part. That's the easy bit. So it gets progressively more challenging, but it also gets to be progressively more golf swing-like. So now I'm going to go back, and then from here to the end of the backswing, I'm going to create that forward movement that I just made. So as I continue to go back, I'm starting to go forward. So I go back to here. As I continue to go back, my body's still turning in backswing mode, but the pressure's beginning to shift. So it's getting the coordinated movement of continuing the rotation even though the pressure's starting to move forward. Then I need to try and create it as a continuous motion, and this is where the challenge goes up again. But again, if you find that one of these steps is too challenging, go back to the previous one and then come back to the one that you're just doing. So from here, I go back and start to drift forward, and then I'll keep going forward as I swing down. I'm not going too far, and I'm not moving my upper body a long way because I don't want to challenge my balance as I'm doing it. So back, slide, and I'm sliding until my left leg becomes vertical. So again, I'm not going to go too far. So back, slide till my left leg becomes vertical, slide till my left leg becomes vertical. And you see the club's already starting to move down, so the movement through my body, and with some return turn, so turning back towards the target, that will make my arms and the club come down. So now I start to put it into a constant motion, slide, turn, and let the club swing through. Then even though I've got a mid-iron here, if I'm creating that same motion but doing it slowly, turn, slide and turn. So in creating this motion, I've got this turn, slide and turn. So I'm sort of building up from a movement which was quite static, the first part, then going a little bit longer so I can get the motion going, then making it a continuous movement, and then starting to introduce the ball. Now, in some ways, some of you might even find that that last swing that I made, which was quite slow, that can actually be quite challenging. So as you increase the speed, you might find that more or easier to become rhythmic. Now, what we need to do is we need to start making this motion in a shorter time period. In other words, basically, it gets faster. So now I'm back, forward, and through. So if I do that with the golf ball, I've got this same motion that I just did in slow motion, but now I'm going to do it at full speed. That works pretty well. But as I said, go back if you need to. As say the start of every practice session when you were first learning this, go right back to stage one, which was just turn. Don't start turning back toward the target. Don't increase your backswing turn, but just turn back to here and move across. Then the second part is you're going to complete the backswing turn, but the second part of the backswing, where you're still increasing your backswing turn, you're starting to move toward the target. And then the third one is you allow the downswing to occur as well. So by practicing that movement, you'll find that you're going to get this flow that comes from the ground up through your body, and momentum's transferred through your body, through your arms and into the club. So you never ever have the feeling of getting stuck on your back foot again, because you're never trying to spin your hips. There's a lot more to the hip movement which we've just discovered.